Hey YouTubers, I'm Tyler and I'm here to talk to you about sexuality, specifically sexuality in the terms of youth and education for youth. With that, we all know that our sex education in schools is pretty lackluster. A lot of schools are required to do abstinence only, which is riddled with problems. And then schools that do touch, 12 states are required to have a inclusive education for LGBTQI youth or sexual minorities. By inclusive, they loosely phrase it, where a lot of these schools and states will only respond to questions by students, but they don't even know how to respond properly. 3 of those states can only respond to questions about sexual minorities in a negative way. And then there's a bunch of states that don't even require sexual education. So, for all you youth, 14 to 24, this is for you guys. I mainly want to touch on questions that aren't upon the heteronormative spectrum. And by heteronormative, I mean anybody who is considered a straight relationship, male, female, a male who is biologically born male, who expresses masculine tendencies, and who finds females attractive. And a female who is female, gendered, biologically, who expresses feminine tendencies, and then who finds sexual attraction in males. Now, I go into that into context because how you identify is an obsession of us. But there's not just a binary of gay, straight, male, female, transsexual, cisgendered. Transgendered, cisgendered. Cisgendered is you are the gender that you were born as. So, there's this diagram that somebody has created called the genderbread person. Genderbread person. You can Google it. It's really interesting. I'm just going to give you a breakdown of what it's talking about. So, there are spectrums that people lie on of, first of all, gender identity. Where you lie on, are you expressing as man? Are you expressing as woman, or are you expressing as neither or in between? Non-gendered. And where you express has nothing to do with what your biological sex is, it's just how you express and identify as that. This is where trans comes into, but also genderqueer. So you can express along anywhere along these lines, but there are 2 lines. More manness, more womanness, and you can be a mix of both, or you can be neither of both. So right there, a whole bunch going into it, of just your gender identity. But then you have gender expression. So I can identify as a male, but I can express myself with more feminine tendencies. We get all these labels like metrosexual and a 3-beer queer when they're intoxicated. All these different expressions of a tomboy for girls who act masculine, who express that. But then we also have androgyny, where you don't express either feminine or masculine traits. And these traits are culturally constructed. And those constructs are dependent upon our dynamic within either the United States or a Western world philosophy. You go into an Eastern world philosophy or European or African, go into South American, any of these different areas, they have different constructs of how they're going to form what gender is, how it's expressed. So you have gender identity, how you identify. Then you have gender expression, how you express your gender. You have biological sex, which you would think is man and woman. Most people are wrong in that, because there's intersexed, and there's a huge line of intersexed. There is Klinefelter syndrome, also known as XXY, where you have two X chromosomes and a Y chromosome. Usually you express as a slightly masculinized female. There are multiple other chromosomal issues. You can have a superwoman, quote unquote, where you have 3 X's, or you can have 1 X and 2 Y's. You can have X and Y, but you can be immune to testosterone, where you do not have any expression of masculine tendencies. You do not form male genitalia. But then again, external male genitalia, should I say. But then again, you have no female ovaries or fallopian tubes to actually ovulate. And you have all these levels of intersexed. Male, intersect, female, but it's a spectrum. You can express all the way on it. And then you have what you're attracted to, what you desire. Most people would just think gay, straight, maybe bi in between. But there's a lot more than that. There's this whole pansexual thing, which some people don't get, but there's any of the previous ones: gender identity, gender expression, biological sex. You can be attracted to different quantities of each of those, and those can be formed to who you are. Along with that, the things you can be attracted to could have nothing to do with the physical traits of the person you're with. There's a thing called sapiosexual, which I find fascinating, and if anything, that's how I would want to see myself. It's someone who's attracted into the intelligence in other people. With that, you find their intelligence, their ability to communicate, their ability to think, to be the most attractive thing about them and why you want to date them. There's levels of pansexual where you don't care what gender they are or who they are, it's just who they are. There's something called demisexual, where you don't feel sexual attraction with somebody unless you are connected with them on a romantic level. But then there's asexual, where you have no attraction to anybody. And then there's aromantic, where you don't even want to have a romantic interaction with people. You would rather just be friends with them. And all of these just go into this compilation of what we identify as your gender form and how you express yourselves. Because it's not just how you express yourself, but it's who you're attracted to. We put a lot of stock in a guy being attracted to another guy. Oh, they're gay. A girl being attracted to another girl. Oh, she's a lesbian. And those are identities within our cultural construct. But they don't have to be just one identity. I am a guy who, yes, likes other males. But I like females too, under certain circumstances. And that's okay. It's fluid. All of these different binaries don't exist. The spectrum is not just a stagnant thing. You have fluidity within it. And knowing that allows you to filter some of this confusion out of who you are. We put so much stock in having your one specific identity that it gets really confusing. And because we're confused, a lot of times people will go and experiment and do things sexually that they're not ready for. Now, if you are becoming sexually active, you want to make sure that, first of all, consent is super important. You want to be making sure that the partner you're with is on the same board. They have the same track of mind, and they want exactly what you want and what you're doing. You don't want to do something that's without their consent. First of all, they're not getting pleasure, you won't be truly getting pleasure and won't be connecting, and you'll be taking advantage of another person. You don't want that to happen. And you don't want to be taken advantage of yourself. A good way to do it is put yourself in the other person's place. Kind of step back from the situation and see how they're feeling. Ask them. A good thing is to talk. Communication is the #1 thing in any type of relationship or interaction. Whether it be just an emotional date or it actually being sex. Communicate. And if you're having sex for the first time, Communication is even more important. Not everybody knows what they're going to do or what they want or even what feels pleasurable. And those are different for everybody. There's been studies that found that some people can get off by brushing their teeth. It's a thing. There's actually a really cool TED Talk on it. The link will be in the description below. But you can achieve orgasm and sexual pleasure from any part of the body. And it's different for each person. And how much contact, how much stimulation you need is different for each person. So you have to communicate to really have a good sexual interaction. No matter who your partner is. Even if your partner is yourself. Listen to your body. If you're in pain, it's a good idea to stop. But with that, so we have consent, we have understanding and communication, we also need to take into consideration your feelings about how mature you are. Now, yes, I am a little bit older. I'm not a teenager anymore. But I do know that when I was first starting to become sexually active with myself and then with others, I wasn't all the way mentally ready for it. I did it because of certain pressures and certain things I wanted to know about myself. I felt I had to either prove myself or understand what I was feeling, so I had to do things that I wasn't ready for. I don't regret anything, but at the same time, I went in with an open head, I communicated, and I took a step back when it was the time. Also, if you're having sex for the first time, if you are sexually active, even if it's not for the first time, you gotta be safe. Safety may mean condoms when you're having penetrative or even oral sex. It may mean getting tested frequently. How do you talk to doctors? How do you go to different places? Planned Parenthood is a great resource for you. You can go there. They have anonymous free HIV testing. They have tons of information out there for even straight as well as homosexual individuals or anybody who falls in a different spectrum. There's tons of information, and it is available for you. You do not have to be confined. You do not have to feel like you are not accepted. There's nothing about your sexuality or what you're feeling or what you want to do to please yourself that is deviant or shameful. You do need to talk and make sure you are both partners, you and whoever you're doing it with, are of the same mental capacity, of the same mindset that they want to do it, and are actually receiving pleasure from the interaction. Sex also should not be goal-oriented. It's an activity just to have fun, just to feel pleasure. It does not need to be penile to vaginal contact. It does not need to be insertion or penetration. It just needs to be one person and another person engaging in a physical interaction that is bringing them pleasure. It has no stop, no start. Doesn't mean you both need to orgasm at the same time. You both need to come at the same time. It just means you are enjoying the moment. And it is an amazing moment. And we put so much shame, guilt, and all these other emotions into it when it doesn't have to be that. But it is really important and it is a great way to connect with somebody. When you do have sex, you raise different hormones in your body, some of them being oxytocin and dopamine, which actually make you feel more close and connected to the person you're with. Because of that, it is important to be having sex with people who you care about, or at least that it means something to you. So, again, be safe, be conscientious, ask for consent, and by all means, have fun. Thank you, YouTubers. I will catch you next time for a talk about specifically health concerns for gay men.